You did it too early. um,
I'm
okay,
not seasoned.
here we are back on the internet again to play the Fall of Magic. This is our second session. The last session we made our characters and hung around in Ravenhall for a while and then travelled across the Oak Hills and into Barley Town. We had all sorts of fun and sad adventures together. But yeah, we're going to start off today just briefly refreshing our own and each other's memories with a little thing. Do you want to go first, Ellen? Just to put you on the spot, do you have it can even just be a highlight or something from last time, however you want to do it. Something that maybe involving your own character.
I'd like to, not something involving my own character. Justice and Elamura were camping by the fire, and it was a really nice moment of both of those characters showing some vulnerability and Justice showing some comfort to Elamura. Very nice.
Yeah, and I think Elamura ended up with the Storm Guard's cloak as well, which could potentially be incriminating further down trouble further down the road.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Definitely not biting me at all.
Yeah.
What a kind gesture.
Do you want to jump in, Sid, with something, a little highlight or a memory from the last session?
Man, I don't think I can talk about anything without just talking about Vargo as a character just being amazing. And like, we just have this big gentle giant who is all about being friends with these animals and yet is so understanding of other people and other cultures. And it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It makes my little heart swell every time I hear Ellen talk about her friends.
I can't wait until Vargo kills us all in our sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm looking forward to Vargo snapping. That's going to be the best part.
Cool. Lauren, do you want to jump in with a snippet?
Yeah, I feel that after false fables of faux vegetarianism, I feel that after encounters with friendly giants, we're all the best of friends in Ballytown. I felt feelings and all the good F words as a fox. So I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Cool. I think I'm going to switch it up a little bit and say something that, rather than a reminiscing, I'll say that what I'm looking forward to perhaps seeing. I really like the potential for the mages to have past lovers in every single place that we pass through.
That's my favorite thing. I'm so excited.
We've totally got to do that. I think it's fun. Yeah, and yeah, I think I'm pretty tempted to head us towards Storm Guard, because I think that's potentially the most interesting. But I guess it's whoever's that's my vote anyway. But whoever's in charge of the mages gets to decide. But take us to Storm Guard.
You promised you'd let me ride the icy rail.
Yeah, that would be sad if we didn't get to go there. So I'm looking at the map, which still has all our tokens and stuff from where we were last time. We can potentially still have a scene or two in Barley Town if there's, or even maybe just one to get us, or we can just. I actually was thinking about the game in the middle of the week and imagining that the characters have spent about this amount of time in Barley Town, like about around a week, you know, like just recovering from their journey across the thing, and the mages trysting with the Barley Lord. And yeah, so I guess maybe they've kind of done I'll take a liberty and say that maybe our opening scene is them preparing to leave, and we see some little bits and pieces of what they were, you know, preparing for the journey ahead. Maybe they've you know, they've got some like fur boots and stuff like that now, because they know they're heading maybe up into the mountains. And I guess winter's kind of on its way. Has everybody who drove, I think Ellen controlled the Magus as we moved into the Oak Hills, and then Lauren.
If there was kissing, it was Lauren.
Yeah, then Lauren, there was definitely kissing, so Lauren. So Sid, do you want to take control of the Magus? And
I do, mate. I do.
And you can either take us into Mistwood or the Storm God Mountains.
Okay. Oh boy, this is interesting, because this is where Justice finds out which way they're going.
That crossroads could be like an interesting point as well.
Absolutely. You're muted, sorry.
Well,
Hello?
so I am. Feel free to hack the game and make up your own scene in the crossroads.
Well, I think you've got to be there. Are you willing to join me there, Justice?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the crossroad, I think it leads like naturally to the Stormguard Mountains. The road up to it is better paved and thicker. The road down to Mistwood sort of starts. In fact, there might not even be a road. You've just got to cut through a path through Mistwood, and that takes you onto the Hall of the Woods in the north. And so the Magus kind of doesn't even think to slow down. He just like he's not in the front. So Justice, you're leading at the front, and when we get to the point to stop, I imagine that like you slow your horse with Elamira on the back, and the Magus kind of just rides past you.
And yeah, I think Justice would definitely like, oh, it looks like there's some real bad storms up in those mountains. I think we should travel through Mistwood. It's safer off of the roads. I hear there's bandits and yetis, avalanches, and trolls in the mountains, and we should not go there.
The magistrate looks up and sees the storm rolling in over the mountains, and he says, true, bandits, but there we could also find Sunbreak. And he like closes his eyes a bit. His robes swirl in a very deep magic-y way, and a hole carves in the clouds, in the dark grey clouds, and lets light shine onto the path in front of you. And like it's visibly drawing energy out of him, and he slumps forward onto the horse a bit and says, Justice, I'm so tired. Please, can you lead?
I think Justice is I think maybe even gets off the horse and kind of leads it forward. Elamira's still on the back, and she's she looks back at her shoulder and sees I think Vargo and Harp are kind of back further down the trail a little bit, and there's that really great stark contrast, I guess, between the like big soft, floofy, furry giant and the little fox person. And then I think looks back and kind of sees this really obvious contrast in the path up ahead. Like there's this dark woods with,
Yeah.
you know, like maybe the wind's whistling through them, and then there's this like trail with like the sun like shining down on it like a miracle. And I think Justice just she just shakes her head and she walks up into the resplendent miracle in the mountains.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we hacked it.
Lauren, are you around at the moment? Before we press on too hard, I think we may have lost Lauren.
Cool. We'll just
No.
I might turn my light on quickly while we're waiting.
She's moving.
I am now. I've been trying so hard not to hotspot my mobile phone after playing like 6 million hours of the final goal, but I may have to just do it. So should be fine from now on.
So did you miss bits then, Lauren?
I think I did, but I got the gist, I think.
Yeah, cool.
So essentially, the path going towards the Stormguard Mountains looks spectacular, and we can't not go.
A shame, for the path less traveled is always more adventurous and fun.
Not if the Stormguards are after you.
Indeed. I suppose, would you rather...
No, Lauren.
If I can't be double Lauren, then screw all you guys.
Harp just passes out in the middle of a sentence.
There it goes. Narcolepsy again.
All those dream crystals.
Add the narcolepsy character trait to your sheet. I think you should continue on, Sid, and take this, take the mages up into the Stormguard mountains and have that little scene if you want to, unless you want to handball it on.
Goodbye, good Lauren. Yeah, right. No, I would love to talk a little bit about the Stormguard Mountains. So, while the path up to them is, well paved and looked after, it's definitely inhospitable. And I don't think crossing of these mountains happens a lot, especially by people that aren't willing to undergo an arduous task. And it cuts back and forth up the mountain as it rolls around to the point that it always looks like you're about to crest the peak. And then when you reach that next step, it just kind of goes on. And I think what I would love to see more than anything is, so we start with Justice like leading the Mage's horse while on foot. And as we ride higher into the mountains and the air gets thinner, that image keeps changing. And so it's starts with Justice, and then it starts with like the Magus walking along, leaning on Elamura for support. And then it starts with Elamura with one arm around and Harp with an arm around him, trying to like take each step slowly. And then I think the shot right before we reach one of these false peaks where we rest, the shot is like Vargo with the Magus over one shoulder and like his horse over the other shoulder, just like carrying them both up this mountain with steady steps.
Cool. Well, who would like to? There's only 3 locations in the Stormguard Mountains, 3 prompts, but one of them you do get to actually roll dice in. That's exciting, isn't it? Does anybody feel like jumping in on one of those?
It feels like that was put in there just so that when people say like, "Oh, you need to roll dice to make it a real RPG."
Yeah, totally. I reckon that's why they did it. Yeah, it's not a role-playing game if there's not rolling something in the game, as they say. Nobody's jumping in, so I'm going to have a go. Do you want to go, Ellen?
No, I want you to go.
I was just having this not to take control of your character, Ellen, but I was just imagining what Vargo was doing in that walking up the mountains, and maybe even Harp as well, as we're seeing like the woods like kind of disappearing like down below. You can probably look out like over the top of the mistwood and stuff. I was what kind of like keening sound does Vargo make, Ellen, while he's looking out over the forest?
Keening.
Yeah, you know, like a longing sound.
Yeah, I'm picturing imagining the sound that Chewbacca makes when Han is in trouble. So I can't do it, but you get the idea.
I'll just sample that in there when I do the audio later on. You'll do the most amazing Wookiee impersonation.
Whereas I will sample Ellen's roar into Empire Strikes Back.
Apparently it was actually a camel, like samples of a camel sound in the original Star Wars movies. It's a Star Wars fact for all you nerds out there. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to have my go. What is Justice doing? I've totally got to do the one with dice rolling. Scouting ahead, the danger you fear. Well, this is going to be pretty obvious. Okay, so I think Justice, everybody's kind of slowing down and this storm's getting worse and worse, and Justice kind of heads out on her own up the mountain a little bit. And I think she's just like probably terrified that they're going to run into like some member of the Storm Guard that will recognize her and know who she is, and also I guess that her new companions will know that she's not the member of the Storm Guard that was actually sent for to help the mages on this journey. She's just like some other person. Yeah, and I'm gonna roll my rolls a dice. Bloop. 4. News from the east. Damn, I totally wanted an ambush.
The news is that there's an ambush.
Yeah. Someone comes running up and says, there's an ambush right in front of you right now. And then we're ambushed. No, I think, I just had a good idea. Justice is on like the trail up ahead, and the everyone roll initiative. And I think the visibility's become quite limited now, so you can just see her kind of like silhouette. And I think she actually does crest the mountain finally that we've been thinking we're going to come over the top of for ages, and just as she crests it, there's another rider coming up, and I think they do the classic. They're like, "Who goes there?" And I think she actually she tries to turn her horse around and whip it, and this person reaches out and pretty much like wrenches her off the horse onto the ground, and they jump down. And I think we see the insignia of the Storm Guard on, I think, on this guard's cloak, and he looks down at Justice on the ground, and I think we get a tiny little flashback to her times in the dungeons with her mother, and this guard is actually, I think, a guard that might have shown them like undue kindness, like gave them some extra like bread, that sort of thing. And I think he's like, "Do I know you?" And she's like, "Wait, I do know you." And then I think Justice kind of rolls across and like tackles his leg, and they like start fighting in the snow. And they're rolling up towards the edge of this cliff, and I think she kind of knocks him over, but he's still holding on to her, and she kind of she looks like she might stop him from falling over, and then she just kind of like shakes him off and lets him fall off the cliff. Yeah, and then I think she leads the other I think she leads the horse back to the back to the camp, and she's like, "I found this horse wandering all by itself." And I guess the news from the east is that I guess there's people there that will recognize her. I guess that's my news from the east. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
How can anyone go after that?
I have an idea. I don't think it'll compete, but I have an idea.
Okay.
Awesome. I think I likewise want to scout ahead.
Cool.
Awesome.
More news from the east.
More news from the east. So I think the scene is after we've made camp for the night on our travels to Stormguard. And I suppose perhaps because of the bad weather, old Harp has decided to partake in some of the dream crystals that were prescribed to her by the Magus on good authority to aid her in connecting with her people in Mistwood. And I think part of this decision also comes from the fact they skirted around to Mistwood. So I think part of her is feeling potentially more homesick than she would usually, because she had an opportunity to go home, which she never really gets to reconnect with her folks, and that is not on the cards this venture. She's wondering if she will ever get to see her people again if we get to the end of this quest and the world ends. Who knows what's going to happen? No one knows what's going to happen. So I think she is taking solace in these dream crystals. And she bunkers down for the night, perhaps by herself, away from other people, as opposed to other nights when she would cuddle up to people for warmth, particularly in these colder months, being a human without a fox fur to keep her warm. And I think as she imbibes these dream crystals, the snow doesn't necessarily disappear, but it does change and shift, and she starts to smell like the mossy undergrowth of the Mistwood and the red wood pines that spring up from its roots even in the chilliest of winters, and the pine needles and pine cones and all those beautiful scents of home. But I think alarmingly, along with those scents is the smell of smoke. And then as she focuses in on that particular scent, with it comes a sense of panic and fear. And as she focuses in more, she hears screams that aren't human screams, but familiar cries of her kin. And perhaps she knows she shouldn't, but she does linger in this memory, this whatever this is, this dream state. And the last thing she senses as she comes out of this rather traumatic reverie is a sense that things could have been different if they had tread a different path, if they had tread on the path less traveled and gone down through the mistwoods. And she comes to back to the cold, like rocky, hard senses of the Stormguard Mountains. The chill is different. It's not as warm and cozy and homely. And she just lies there in the wee hours of the night and speaks naught of her very real concerns that there is trouble in the very northeast of Mistwood with the rangers who protect the forests. And worries that perhaps things would have been different if perhaps they hadn't gone down this road.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I really like that because it makes the world feel a lot more alive. Like this isn't the only like story going on.
Oh, good.
Like,
That was
in the world. Like, and I really like that in like George R.R. Martin's writing is a little bit like that for me. You like often feel like there's other stories might be happening in another valley that are just as important as the main narrative. Like,
oh, good. I was trying to go with that sort of Walking Dead Telltale game, like your choices have an effect on the world.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, consequences.
I'll
Yeah,
remember this.
I'm glad that came across. Yeah.
Cool. Who's next?
Yeah.
Probably Ellen, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to have Vargo take a scene taking shelter. So Justice, would you like to be in this scene?
Sure.
So it's early morning after you know, Harp's fallen asleep, stoned. Justice has acquired a horse, and so it's the first morning with this new horse, and Vargo is up very early as normal to feed and tend to the horses and also like commune with nature. And he's very concerned, like he has a concerned look on his face, and he's looking at the horses, like saddles and packs, and looking at the horse's hooves and noticing that it's in quite good condition, and and I think as this is happening, I think maybe Justice is just getting up as well, and Vargo, without looking at her, is like, how did you come upon this horse again? Was it just walking alone?
I think maybe Justice's back is to Vargo when the questions asked of her, and you see a like a kind of worried look on her face, but she kind of forces a smile and turns around, and she's like, yeah, when I found it, it was just standing there in the mountains.
Oh, okay. It looks like it's really well cared for. It's got a friend that takes good care of her. She feeds him apples and corn, and also these shoes are new. They're very nice shoes. Maybe the major should look at getting some of these shoes for his horse. Maybe we should try and look today for the horse owner, because such a pretty horse wouldn't look so pretty if it was walking alone for a long time. It must just be alone all of a sudden. Maybe we should look for its owner, its friend.
Justice starts to look super sus. She just looks so she looks really guilty. She's not like a particularly good liar. I don't think.
I think Vargo can read that, because how many dogs has taken food off his plate. Like he knows a guilty look when he sees one, and he tilts his head back and is like, what aren't you saying?
I think you see Justice kind of trying to make a decision, and I think she says she kind of sighs and drops her head. She's like, come with me, and starts to lead Vargo up the mountain towards where she had her pushed the guard over the cliff.
Where are we going?
And she doesn't really say anything, but I think she kind of leads Vargo up and gets him to look over the edge, and there's just the sprawled out broken body of the guard there. And
oh my gosh.
She says I had to do it. He knew who I was.
Get some rope. We've got to get down to him.
I don't think we need to go down there.
Oh no. Oh, maybe Elamura can perform the rites and he can go to a better place at least.
Vargo, I really hope that this can just stay between you and me. I'm not who I say I am, but if the others know I'm worried about what will happen to me.
But what No! Why? What's wrong with you? Why did you do this? Why would you hurt another creature? What could be so bad that you would hurt another creature for?
Well, I didn't want to end up locked up in a dungeon and then hanged.
Fargo just is like speechless. He is so conflicted with the idea of an animal being in a cage or an animal put down, and he doesn't know what's worse as well. So I think he can sympathize a bit, and I think he just lowers his head and walks away from the edge and shaking his head and walks really slowly back to camp quietly.
Justice kind of stays behind, I think, and she I think she like picks up some like a couple of stones, and she just like throwing them at the wall really hard. She's like, fuck! He's like freaking out. Fuck it! Cool.
This is definitely Fargo's path to strangling us all in our sleep.
The world would be better without these people.
Yeah, exactly. These are bad people.
It's
not
for the greater good. So, does anybody else want to wait? So no, we haven't had Alamura have a turn.
No,
yet, so,
I haven't.
Yeah, so you need to go.
Do I? Don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me.
You must go.
I'm gonna do the worsening weather.
Storm Queen Pass.
Yeah, so we camp in Storm Queen Pass because the way that the pass forms blocks off a lot of the wind, and Justice, as if she knows this area well, is able to tell us this is the best place to sleep, and so we do. But Justice also demands that we have, or I think it was Justice's idea, that we have like set watch during the night in case anyone comes upon us in this well-traveled area. And so this is Alamura standing at where the pass opens up and starts to go downhill again. And from the pass, she can feel the rain against her skin, and she pulls the cloak that she bought in Barley Town a little bit closer, and it's not enough. So she like digs back through a bag and pulls out the storm cloak. The Storm Guard cloak, and throws that over her shoulders. And as she looks down, like we see this shot down into the valley and then of Storm Guard Castle, and it's got a thick black cloud sitting over the top of it, and you can see the rain falling through the air on this 45-degree angle into the castle, and it looks like ominous and foreboding. And as you follow the path backwards, as it gets closer, we can see the hail, like the rain turn to hail in parts, and it's falling to the ground and coating it. And then as it gets closer and closer up the Stormguard Mountains, it turns to like this soft snow. And Alamura is wrapped in this cloak and like looking out over where she's got to go, and we can see like the concern on her face. This is not that, it doesn't look pleasant. It doesn't look. I think if you even turned back and looked, like walked to the other end of the pass and looked out over Barley Town, it'd be like beautiful and green, and would have like soaked up all the rain, and have these excellent crops, and it just looks foreboding ahead. And she's almost doubting whether or not like it's worth continuing. And then there's a crack of lightning, and the light lights up off in the distance, this small like speck of movement, and there's no way she could identify it if she didn't know what it was, and it's the ice rail, and that is just enough to inspire her to pull the cloaks in a bit closer, aim to stop chattering her teeth, and steel herself against the wind. This will all be worth it.
Yes. Toot toot.
I was saving the toot, but that's all right. We'll get to the toot in good time.
Cool. That was great. Thanks for lifting us back up there as well.
I thought the Storm Queen Pass would have been a good opportunity to bring in a makeout session, but you didn't, so you know that's on you, Sid.
Storm Queen Pass. There's literally a woman just standing there, and she's like, "I'm the Storm Queen. I kiss people that come through."
Yes. Yeah.
It's like a toll booth. You have to but it's like a kissing booth instead of the
kissing. Oh, it's so good.
Kissing toll booth.
Well, I'm kind of tempted for have I taken control of the Magus yet?
You have not. And I think you're the best person to do it into Stormguard.
Well, you did at the introductory scene, but I think it's your turn to like make a makeout scene or whatever you want to do.
You know, whatever you want to do, just as long as it's a makeout scene. Otherwise, Ellen won't be happy.
Oh, they'll be making out and betrayal. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to move the Magus onto Castle Stormguard, the hospitality of Alana Storm Queen. Yeah. So I think we see the party kind of winding their way, like slowly down towards Castle Stormguard, and I imagine it having like being this big keep up on the mountains, but there's quite like a sizable town all around the base of the mountain. And I think it's actually it's daytime, but the weather's so bad that that like there's heaps of like fires burning already and lights on in the windows and stuff. And yeah, they kind of make their way in through the open gates and are working their way up towards the castle. And I think they kind of get up to these, you know, classic guards with like big long pikes across the gates of the keep, and the Magus kind of steps out in front of the group, and he's looking I think maybe like kind of burned by the you know, when people get the, what's it called? It's not frostbite, but it's like when the sun is, what is it called?
You talking about sunburn?
Yeah, but I think there's a name for it when it's from reflected off of the snow, but I can't think of what it is. Anyway, I think like the Magus is like sunburn and looking like pretty weak. The guards are like back down to the, like, I think we just look like a mess. Oh, and they're like, get back down to the town. You're obviously not meant to be here. And the Magus, what did the Barley Lord call the Magus? The Magus had a
Monty.
That's right. I'll need that in a second.
I assume is short for like Montgomery G. Magus.
Yeah, totally. I think the Magus just steps forward and he kind of draws himself up and probably even looks like, you know, almost half as tall again. And I think he's like, you let us through, the Storm Queen will want to see us. And I think they move forward maybe to try turn him around. And this you hear like this really big voice call out, like, don't you lay a hand on him. And this kind of Valkyrie like woman moves out like of the doorway and moves the guards aside. And she's actually like, she's quite old herself, but you can tell she's still strong, and she's obviously been a warrior. But yeah, I think she's maybe her hair was yellow in her youth, but it's like pure white now. And I think we see a kind of echo of what we saw in Barley Town when when the Storm Queen lays eyes on the Magus. She kind of loses her composure a little bit, and I think she's probably carrying some sort of ceremonial mace. It just drops onto the ground. There's this big kind of clang, and she just rushes out and is like, I think the size difference is of not really there. I think they're of a similar height, but she's probably like 3 times the width of him. She's buff, and he's all like a little broomstick. Yeah, and I think I'm not good at making out. Well, I am in real life. So.
Prove it.
Come upstairs, Luke.
I think no, Ellen, this is wrong. You're embarrassing me. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just 1950s film it. The music, there's some romantic soaring strings, and she like leans him like over her arms, and just a bit of a like, you know, appropriately 1950s length of movies kiss. Yeah, and then I think it cuts, like the scene cuts mid making out. Mouth closed, of course. It's this is 1950s.
It does that that wipe where like it sinks into a circle over the the pair kissing.
Yeah, totally.
That's so perfect, man. So perfect.
Yeah, and I think she actually but this is the other part of the hospitality of the Storm Queen is what it cuts to is the Magus walking off into Castle Stormguard with Alana Storm Queen, and the guards left on the gate, just like rushing in, grabbing everyone, and like starting to like pull them away. More guards come. They probably need about like 20 guards to drag Vargo away. But yeah, the end of the scene is everyone is being dragged to the dungeons. Probably, we don't know yet. They're definitely being dragged away though.
Nice work, Luke.
Making out and betrayal.
Beautiful.
Is anybody super keen to jump in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options.
I'm interested to go to the Court of Swords.
Cool. What's the Court of Swords look like?
Sorry, I was just gonna go a bit ridiculous there, but I've decided not to.
Go a combination of ridiculous and not ridiculous.
So the Court of Swords is where our friendly little troop have been dragged. It is a large room, like large grey stone, hollow, cold, no natural light, just some torches on the walls. And quiet, like disturbingly quiet. So there's the plethora of guards drag our crew into the center of this big empty room. And after we're brought in there, 2 lines of armored, not mercenaries, storm guards come in with long swords, and there's about 20 of them, 10 in each row. They file in through the same door that we got dragged in, and line 2 walls, like line opposite walls, and in the middle of the room up the back is one large throne seat, and it's a big metal chair with all ornate faces engraved or built into them, and the back of the chair is swords, so it's very very unfriendly place to be. Now let's see what we're going to do here. So we are going to discuss who is right. So our gang of friends are chained, and the chains are attached to pins in the ground. The guards that let us in walk out and stand outside the door. And through the front door, the Storm Queen and the mages come in hand in hand initially, that when the magus sees the predicament that his friends are in, it's like, Alana, what have you done? These were my friends and humble servants. Why are you treating them like this? Can I have a Storm Queen? Does anyone? Yes?
I can be a Storm Queen.
Oh, go for it.
You sure can. Alana, what are you doing with my friends?
How well do you know these people that you're traveling with, Monty?
I should not have to explain to you, of all people, how well I need to know people.
When I got your letter asking for somebody to accompany you on your journey. Who do you think it is that I sent? Do you think it was this this skinny dream crystal addict? Would I not send one of the best Stormguard to you?
I am far wiser than you give me credit for, sweet thing. I know that Justice is not who you sent, but it does not mean that she is not the right person for this journey. Will you hinder us in this epic adventure to save the world as we know it? To save our love as we know it?
Sorry, she doesn't laugh at you. That was out of character laughing.
Of course he loves her. He's all loving. He loves everyone.
I'm tempted to drop another bombshell, but I won't. I've been dropping too many bombshells. Nah. I think she actually she kind of shrugs off the hand that she's pregnant. I was actually just out of character. I was going to say that the guard that she sent might have been their one of their children, and they don't know. Like, but I don't know. That seems a little bit like I don't want to do that. I think she shrugs the Magus off, and she storms over to where Justice is, and she's like, where did you get the letter that you showed him? Where's my lieutenant now? I think Justice just looks up at her and spits at her feet and hangs her head back down. Hey, Ellen. I really love this scene that we're doing.
Yeah.
But also make sure that that Vargo is in it, because you're doing a really awesome Magus scene, which is cool, but your Vargo is totally meant to be in this scene. It's like in terms of rules.
Yeah.
The very few rules that there are.
Check out the rules lawyer over here.
Yeah, it's just so that we don't end up like all playing the Magus, like leading with what the Magus is saying like all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That our characters still are a big part of the story.
Yeah, sure.
So let's see, can we see the end of the scene maybe in regards to how Vargo's reacting to it all?
So, obviously Vargo's in change by choice. Like, you cannot chain this creature. And he is looking at this conversation between the Magus and the Storm Queen, and he is getting more and more panicked. And when the Storm Queen comes over to Justice and starts interrogating her, he is just like, you can see his chest rising and falling faster, bigger and bigger breaths. And he does his Wookiee scream, "Aah!" and like breaks out of the chains,
Yes.
pushes the Storm Queen. This is all happening really quick. So, like, action scene. He rips the chains that are tying everyone else down and runs up and hoiks the magus over his shoulder. And, like, while he's doing this, he's like guards are falling down left, right, and center.
Shit.
Yeah. And so we cut the scene as Vargo is like running out with the magus and everyone's like going, what? And the guards are like flailing. That just happened.
That's awesome. Let's take a little 5-minute break while we imagine for some reason it's a Benny Hill chase scene to me now with a and like, you know, the thing where there's the hallway and they run through that like doorway there, and then
Scooby-Doo doors.
Yeah, and the same people run out of the doors and stuff. Just to gonzo it up a little bit. Shall we take 5?
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
What games were you playing today?
Oh my gosh.
All of them?
I started out with the Vale Inheritance.
Yep.
And the one which was really cool. And then I play tested my hack of the Final Girl, which is the Final Girl Bachelor.
Yeah.
Which was like super fun. I really loved it, but it also took like 6 hours. So
Really? Wow.
or like 5 hours. Yeah. So it was a very long session of Bachelor.
Was it awesome?
It was really, really good fun. Had like I think Yoshi and Jim Crocker. I hadn't played with Jim before, but he was super fun. And Yoshi's just always a delight. Like Yoshi is so good at those games.
Awesome.
So I need to play it again sometime. I might see if I can rope you guys to play again, maybe.
Yeah.
You guys are keen.
Yeah, awesome. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling a bit drained?
I'm feeling good. I think part of it is the fact that my flat is like an oven. So whenever there's like heat, I just always feel awake. But also, you guys are a delight to play with, and I was looking forward to this all week. So I'm excited.
Yeah, Luke and I had some nice chats about like the game that we played last week. And yes, you guys are so fun.
Yes,
Awesome.
It's like the best way to end off the week. Like I just want to play this every week with you guys.
Well, the speed that we're moving at, we may have to keep on playing it every week for like the, which I like. I think this game works when you don't try rush through the like places too quickly. And yeah,
Agreed.
it looks like I'm interested to see. You can potentially go. Have you seen the scroll before? Like you can go underground in Mines of Moria, weird underground cultures kind of direction, or there's an oversea journey with a kind of randomly drawn islands. So it'll be fun when we get to that part of things. Yeah. So I guess it's either Sid or Lauren next. I'm interested to see where you can take your scene out of the chase.
Yeah, Lauren, I think I've got one that's not really chronological. Have you got one you want to put on this chase, or?
No, I think likewise mine was not chronological, so I'm just trying to think up a way.
I'm happy to also be responsible for getting us out of the mess of being captured and then in a chase as well. I've got ideas about that, so just jump in with whatever ideas.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I dig it if like Justice is the one who can get us out of this caper, given Justice's history with this place. Yeah,
like she would know the city and stuff, wouldn't she?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because the only scene that comes to mind is one that's probably when things are a bit quieter and we aren't necessarily on the run.
We could totally just go underground in the town. It's quite a large large town as well, if that's something you want to play with. Or...
All right, I might jump in and do mine, and I might time jump us ahead a bit.
Yeah, cool.
For the Tomb of the Storm King, and this is perhaps sometime later. Could be a day, it could be half a day, because we're underground in the tombs underneath the Storm Guard, Castle Storm Guard, and Elamira is walking through the tomb, kind of being among the dead where she feels comfortable, and there's a tomb guard down there, and he's kind of a part gravedigger, part ceremonial guard kind of thing. He'll lay people to rest and then that sort of stuff. And she's in this section. There's like it's this big section full of sarcophagi, and then it dips away to each side and ahead. And Elamira is kind of like dragging her fingertips along the top of the sarcophagus and speaking to herself out loud to the dead inside. And the tomb guard behind her says, "Are you looking for anyone in particular, ma'am?" And she says, "No, I just like to be among the people." And he points forward to the bit that dips away with these two large stone statues etched into the wall. And he says, "Well, if you'd like, down there you'll find the kings and queens past, and off to the sides you'll find the common people who, for whatever reason, were able to be buried here." And she sort of looks at the statues and says, "Well, I've been traveling with some very special people, so I think it's probably best I spend some time with the commoners." And together they walk downstairs. And at one of them, she comes upon it, and though she doesn't know it, she kind of stops and is like drawn to a certain grave. And as she stands there, she's a little bit like uncertain, and it's got a like a tombstone at the top with a small symbol, and hanging off that is a piece of jewelry. And she says, "Do you provide offerings to the dead here?" And he said, "Oh, well, when this woman died, she was clutching that necklace so tight, I didn't have the heart to take it from her. Normally, we just collect that stuff and melt it down and reintegrate it into the population, but she seemed to really have her heart set on keeping hold of this, so I thought it was best she might." And Elamira leans down onto one knee and takes the necklace in her hand, and on it, it's got an image scratched into it of a young deer, a fawn, if you will. And she says, "It feels special. I think you've done something important leaving that here." And then she stands and looks him in the eye and says, "It's becoming rare that any of us can do something special for the dead. I'm glad they've got you."
Really nice.
That was lovely.
So lovely.
I have a scene in mind if someone wants to play potentially a winter nymph.
I think Ellen does that daily.
Go on, Sid.
All right. I was offering you up. Lauren, can you give me a primer on winter nymphs?
Yeah, totally. So I kind of envision this person perhaps like being similar to Dear Harp, and that they can also take on personified forms and can shapeshift, and perhaps their powers perhaps are a bit more powerful, given that they're in they're on their own turf, like in the Stormguard Mountains. So perhaps have a little bit more autonomy and flexibility in how they can manifest their powers and stuff. And I think that this will take place at the Commoners Hall. And I think likewise, this scene takes place a little bit of time after we've managed to escape the guard. I had a friend recently go to like a secret illegal party, like an illegal dance party in Iran. They have these like little illegal like dance halls that are hidden away. So I kind of did using that as an idea where Harp has somehow wandered into these perhaps adjacent to the tombs, like one of these illegitimate sort of like informal parties away from like the cold, stark, hard lines of the Stormguard Castle. And there's singing and acoustic music It's very echoic, and the place is lit only by candlelight, meaning it's kind of smoky, and it smells like quite a lot of incense. And otherwise, there's just like plenty of good cheer, which is a bit rare and unique in such hard times, particularly underneath Queen Alana's reign. And Harp seeks a little bit of reprieve here, takes a seat at a table. Maybe is nursing like a pint of something. But given that they lack the ability to dance as freely as everyone else, they're kind of just observing and watching these people, as one might just like people watch on the street. But she does catch sight of this person who seems to be quite enchanting and captivating in the middle of all of these other Storm Guardians. They look a little bit different, but she can't quite place her finger on it. But this person seems familiar, and she can't help but stare at them as they dance around the room.
I think we see like their feet don't just step around, they actually shift and change, and their entire body is like water, just like flowing around each of these Stormguard natives. And she like looks over and catches the eye of Harp, and there's like a little like look of surprise, like the eyes go a little bit wide, but it's playful, and she plays it off and like looks away immediately. And we see her like check back a couple of times to see if Harp's still looking.
And I think likewise, Harp looks at her and looks away, and then like looks back again in a sidelong glance to see if she's still watching, and then pretends to nurse her ale.
She dances for like a little bit longer, and then the next time Harp looks back for her, she's gone. She's not there anymore. And a quick scan of the room shows that she's nowhere to be found. And before that disappointment can really set in, Harp hears a voice over his shoulder, and it just says, are you planning to nurse that one or drink it? And she slips in next to Harp at the table.
I think Harp was taking a drink of her ale, but is caught by surprise and sort of has to choke it down a little bit, which is like completely unflattering and absolutely not the right impression that she wants to give off to this very beautiful person. She swallows it down and says, well, it has been some time since I have had anything to drink, really, so I'm trying to pace myself. May I offer you a drink?
She like just takes the glass or the mug from Harp and like, what's the matter? Don't you like to share? And just like takes a big gulp of it. It actually looks like her hands look too small on the mug, and she takes this big old gulp and sends it back to you.
I like to think that as she grasps this tankard, the condensation on its exterior like frosts over.
Yes, girl, yes.
And Hart sort of looks down at that and then looks back up at her and says, I thought you looked familiar, and yet we haven't met before.
And she says, no, not like this.
Interesting. Perhaps that is why I feel so drawn to you, for I miss home terribly. I have not been home in some time. And
she I think like flicks the fox foot around your neck and says, I think home isn't the only thing you haven't been for some time.
And I think she puts her hand to like the fox foot, for it is very dear and close to her heart, literally and figuratively. And says, I do hate to ruin the mood, but you were quite delightful. But when was the last time you were home? For I feel rather worrying news of home.
Well, home. Why would I go home? Here I've got drinking and dancing and silly Stormguard boys to chase around.
That is true. Perhaps I linger too long on where I've been and not where I'm going. Indeed. Tell me, how long have you been this way? A person, like human, like a.
Oh, right.
4 limbs.
Yeah, and she thinks and says, well, I don't remember. I think that I started doing it one day and just never stopped. And then she kind of like settles back in the chair again, takes the tankard off you, and she sips. And this time she's like a little bit more thoughtful with it, a little bit more pensive. And as she pulls it away, you can see like the trail of ice that it leaves that like she snaps off, and like thinks longingly into the distance. And she says, perhaps I've thought too much of where I'm going and not enough of home.
Seems that we are quite the pair indeed. And I think she even takes this woman's hand and shivers a bit at its icy touch, but not in a bad way, for she deeply misses the cold entangled in her fur. And says, I would be lying if I was not envious of the powers you possess, for I have gone some time without. And I don't quite know where I'm going with this, but I'm very glad that I bumped into you this evening.
I wonder what she can do. She says, now, don't be too quick to get away. I mean, after all, I haven't even seen you dance.
Why, I have not danced in some time. I barely know how anymore.
Oh, good. Then I can lead. Follow me.
And I think Harp will let her be led onto the dance floor.
Is Harp a killer dancer?
She tries.
She tries. I feel that, Harp. I feel that at a deep level.
Oh, sorry, that went on for a long time, but I quite like that.
Yay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I could hear Ellen through the floorboards when Sid, you said that's not the only thing you haven't been for a while. I could hear Ellen go, ooh, through the a good line. No, I very deliberately tried to, in the little catch thing that we did at the start, to say we were going to take our sweet time playing. So I'm really glad to see like extended scenes like that happening.
Oh, awesome. It was
lovely.
Thank you, Sid. That was a good scene.
No, thank you for your patience. Like, it took me a little while to feel out like where you wanted that to go, and I was so glad you brought up like the condensation thing and stuff. That was so good.
Oh, awesome.
I'd like to hear like the sound that Harp would make when she dances, just with the wooden leg.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how does she dance amazingly, or like kind of okay, a little bit off center? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I like to think it's a odd pace behind the tempo, and so it's like never constant, but always one step behind. But she tries really hard.
You even started looking a bit like some sort of water nymph in the middle of that scene, Sid. It was really nice.
Yeah, good embodiment.
I was feeling the AF. Lauren, I was thinking about putting this to you later, but now's a really good time. What would the water nymph like leave you with? I wasn't sure if she would have something to produce to you, or if like it was something that she would mark like your body with, whether you'd get like cold burns around your like wrists where they touched or what. But like, I'm wondering the next day, what are you left with to remember this?
That is a good question. I kind of like it being perhaps another trinket or necklace to add to the collection. So it's like she's kind of gathering up little physical manifestations of the memories that she has as she goes on this journey. So perhaps like alongside the fox foot of where she began. Oh yeah?
Oh, I was just thinking, oh man, what about like a really perfectly formed snowflake, like really intricate and beautiful, that never melts? It just like sits against your skin coldly.
Yes, I was
yes.
thinking like ice crystal that never melts. I'm glad we're on the same page. That's awesome.
Also had a similar thought. So it must be
Best
real.
friends.
Yeah,
Everyone
maybe
but me, best friends.
maybe in her hair, like as some sort of
I love that.
because you were talking about the snow on your fur.
Yes, that is so good. Yes, it's totally a hairpin that that she wears in her hair for now and forever.
Cool. Okay. I'm gonna jump in with Justice and have my scene here. I guess I'll go. The whole of night's the best just always makes me think of that song from Karate Kid in the end of Karate Kid. You know, it's like, you're the best. But I'm not going to go there. So I think the next scene we see is Justice, I think probably hooded and moving through the town kind of in the early morning. And there's like there's people in the square in like in the stocks, you know, like with their heads and arms through the thing, and she kind of walks past them, and there's right at the top of the square there's the gallows there that we saw in like the earlier scene with her mother. And I think she kind of walks up. There's hardly anyone. I think maybe there's no one else in the square this early except for the people locked in the stocks. And she kind of goes up and hunkers down in front of the like the gallows, and I think we get a little flashback of maybe even back to that directly in the point of the conversation that she was having with her mother about her mother taking the blame, and we see more of the argument, and it goes on for a while, and I think we see the woman. I think maybe Fawn's Fawn, because her name is Fawn in Justice is her fake name. She passes her this medallion. She's able to kind of slip her this medallion. Yeah, Justice is a nom de plume. she's able to slip her mother this medallion that maybe her mother gave her at some point right before the guards come in to drag her away. And I think we kind of get a different angle now of Fawn in the crowd, like watching her mother, and I think we see the woman clutching the Fawn medallion kind of behind her back as the trapdoor blocked down, and maybe even we see the keeper in the tomb later on, like trying to remove the medallion from the woman's hands, and she won't let go of it. And I think actually because this is sometime in the past, we see him perform the ritual that Alamira was talking about earlier on. He does the ritual, and there's the Fawn's mother's face kind of smiles as she's holding on to this medallion, and then we flash back to Fawn in the empty square, and she's I think she's just crying, and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll make sure that that you didn't die for nothing. I just seem to keep doing the wrong thing all the time, but if I manage to get out of this city again, I'll try make sure I do something good. And yeah, she turns around and leaves.
Oh, Lou. You're so sad and so magical, and I love you.
I hope that was okay jumping on your awesome medallion thing.
Look, it wasn't, but I'll have some words with you offline. I think we'll keep that one offline.
I was feeling like that was totally her mother as soon as you started describing her.
I'm glad you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Cool. So we can keep hanging out at Castle Stormguard, or we can move to the ice rail, or to the mouth of the deep.
I swear to God, if whoever it is takes the mouth of the deep, we'll leave this call immediately, unless they have a really cool reason for it.
I think
I'm kind of
good here. Yeah, like I'm good to. I really want to see the ice rail.
Yeah. Cool. Wait, who put the coin on the? Is that you, Ellen? Ellen put the magus on the mouth of the deep.
Ellen, I'm going to be sleeping in the same house as you in 2 weeks, and I have a long memory.
That's all right. I'm pretty patient as well, so you know. And I snore.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Good luck with that, everyone else.
Cool.
Include that in the final edit, please, Lou.
I will. Can be in the outtakes, the various threats of murder to happen at Ettincon.
Lauren, take us where you take us.
Ooh, okay.
But it better be the ice rail.
Oh, okay. I took it. Okay, so I just in terms of meta, I have 2 frames in mind for this. I think the first half I think would be kind of neat if it were the Magus and Elamura as they're enduring the ice rail. And then I think I have a really cool idea in mind for the debt that must be owed
Yes.
on reaching the ice rail.
All right.
So I think what's going through the Magus's head anyways, they depart Stormguard, is relief in an odd way. For while the Magus, I think, was pleased to find some closure with the Storm Queen, they still parted on some very odd terms. And perhaps, like, even though the Magus knows deep in his heart that these people are the people that are supposed to be on this quest with him, the Storm Queen got in his brain a little bit with whether or not they are truly strong enough to see him and support him through to the end. And he can't quite help shake that feeling. And yet, as he approaches the ice rail, he can't help but be swept up in the youthful enthusiasm of Elamira as they near it. And I kind of dig if we focus in on like a little scene between the two of them as they're traveling. Perhaps Elamira entertaining the Magus with hypotheses and theories around what the ice rail will be like. Which you're welcome to chip in with some if you want.
She's like, I heard the ice rail goes faster than the foxes of Mistwood. I heard the ice rail at some point speeds above the sightless sea, and so you can look out and you can see the land on the other side. I heard that the ice rail goes so fast that if you walk in the same direction as the ice rail is going, you're the fastest person that's ever been on the whole planet.
My child, where have these stories come from? Who has been spinning them inside your head? For they all sound wonderful, but
it happens. They always come. Travelers come through Ravenhold all the time, and they always talk about the adventures they've had and how the ice rail took them there. I've heard that if you get on the ice rail, you can ride it all the way to Istallia, and that there it doesn't even stop. You just like step out into the air and you float down into the city.
The Magus smiles, and that smile softens a little bit with aged wrinkles. And he places a hand upon her shoulder and he says, "My child, has anyone told you of the debt owed of the ice rail amongst all these stories of whimsy and joy?" You're muted.
Muted. She says, and like she gets a bit quiet, and she says, I've heard that the reason the engine can keep running even when there's no magic is because it runs on the dreams of the people that ride it. I've heard that to get on the ice rail, you have to give up the thing most precious to you.
You're indeed wise for all your enthusiasm, and I'm relieved that you're at least somewhat prepared in theory for what is to pass. For while the ice rail is indeed quite the sight to behold, it does also come with it deep sacrifice that all of us will have to make before we pass. And I think as he says that, like, they crest over this small mountain, and through this snowy trail, we see the ice rail looming from within the near distance, and with it, in the shadows of Stormguard Mountain, casts upon a toll booth next to this ice rail, and the Magus leads his friends down this trail and comes to a stop at the kissing toll booth. And we don't see who's behind it. They're way too shadowy and esoteric to really take human form. In fact, everyone, I feel like, may feel somewhat of a dark chill of dread, which is quite contrasted to the whimsy that we felt approaching this place. And a shadowy void like a voice commands of us. To pass, you must give up a piece of yourself. And then I think there's something to the effect of like, many wise travelers have tried to trick the rail into giving up a lesser part of themselves. However, rest assured that they pay for their weight in lies, and most do not see the end of the rail. If you choose so to trick this machine. And then I think like a slot opens like at the front of the toll booth, and we're all to pay whatever part of ourselves to ride this wondrous machine.
Cool. I'm really
Not
curious.
cool.
I'm really curious about what everybody would put in there.
God.
Lauren, you're the worst.
So do we? I got an interesting play question. Do we want to talk about that now? What each gives up, or do we want to bring that up in our scenes?
Good question.
I'd like to see everyone's scene of them giving up the thing. I think that could be quite powerful.
Like now? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now.
I think also though, if you look at the prompts, they are pretty, like they're quite introspective kind of prompts. Like we can potentially get it done
Inside.
make that the theme of like others being on the ice rail. Like I think that would work equally well. But I'm easy. I don't mind either way. What interests you guys the most?
Oh man, I will say, because I'm going to be like the absolute worst, that Elamira like walks up to the booth, stares into the void, and like looks back at the group, and then she just kind of like half nods with like a shake. And you can see the tears pouring from her cheeks. She half nods and then just like walks onto the train or walks past the booth. And I will reveal to you later.
But is it going to be that she doesn't like give a fuck about going on the ice rail now? Is that what you gave up?
That one's good. That one's real.
That's
good.
what I thought you were going to do.
I'm going to do a harder gut punch than that, I hope.
Yeah, well, let's have tiny scenes of us all going past it, and then we'll show what we actually gave up like later. Yeah, so Justice is pretty flippant about the whole thing. She's ridden the ice rail, and in fact, it might be part of the reason why she's such a total fuck up. Is she? I think she rode the ice rail heaps of times to Istallia to smuggle back dream crystals, and she paid with like
oh my god
major parts of herself.
That's so good.
Yeah, she just goes past in a way that she's completely not that concerned about what she's giving up.
The Void's just like, g'day, Justice. Good to see you again. How's it?
Frequent flyer. Yeah. How about Vargo? What does it look like when Vargo goes past the scary kissing booth?
He looks back at the mages. It's like, we have to do this, don't we? Okay. So he steps up to the. I'm gonna have to put the screen down because I can just see Luke carrying on. He steps up to the booth and he opens up his vest puts his hand in and pulls out his mouse and drops his mouse into the void.
What?
And
Oh my
steps
God.
onto the train.
Lauren, you're a monster.
Look what
You're
you've
welcome.
done, Lauren. How about Fox? How about Harp the Fox?
Yeah, I think oh geez. Okay, I think much like Elamira, we see Harp pause in front of the void. And her hand goes to the fox paw around her neck. She closes her eyes for a long moment. And for a second, it's like she stopped breathing. I think just as people are probably starting to worry that she's stopped breathing altogether, she takes like a shuddery in-breath and then exhales, and with that comes a single tear. And then she swallows and steps past the booth and onto the ice rail.
Cool.
And we'll find out later how sad that is.
Let's I reckon we take another little break, do the ice rail and knock off for the knock off from your epic day of gaming, Lauren.
Oh, can we do the next bits, please?
What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, can we like do that? I want to see where it sacrifices right now.
Oh yeah, no, we got to do ice rail before we. I can't.
Oh
wait.
yeah, we're gonna do the
cool.
ice rail. Yeah, I was
Oh,
suggesting we take a little break, do the whole ice rail, and finish with our arrival in Istallia.
Oh,
Does
perfect.
that sound good? Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry to frighten you all.
You stopped my heart for a second.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that yeah, anyway, let's take a little break, 5 minutes again, and we'll come back and ride the ice trail.
Sounds awesome.
I'm having a moment. Sounds good.
Yeah, that was beautiful, guys.
Hey Lou, you'll hear this when you're recording it, or when you're listening back to it and doing the edit. I just wanted to let you know you're awesome. You're a real cool dude. You're a cool dude. Also, your dog is hella cute. Muted Ellen.
I just put my headphones on when you were doing your super secret message.
Yeah, you shouldn't have heard that. It was about porridge, not you.
I got a fright because I was just chilling at my computer and forgot that we had the Hangout open, and I just hear that. I was like, oh my god.
Anyway. Woo!
Hey Lauren, do you use your Yeti as the mic when you do Hangouts?
Yeah, not tonight, because I'm using my phone, so I only have so many cables. But usually it's the Yeti.
Okay, how do you find it?
It's good, yeah. Yeah, I can't complain. It's pretty good.
It's the forage.
Porridge!
It's the forage.
Did you happen to hear some super secret whispering that Super's doing? Hello, Porridge.
Oh,
What do you
porridge. I love you, porridge. You're a good boy.
Good boy.
Oh, well.
Cool. That was awesome. The whole giving up a part of your self to fuel the train.
Not a part of yourself, the part of yourself. The most important thing to you.
Mm.
And the braille knows if you're lying.
So who's I feel like it's probably Vargo first.
Mouseless Vargo.
Oh, that wasn't all that you gave up, apparently, according to our chat outside just then.
We'll soon see. Well, we might not soon see, but anyway. So dramatic. All right. So once we get on the train, everyone's really quiet, and I think probably a little bit confused. The feeling when you give something away is you don't necessarily know that you've given something away. You just have something missing. So Vargo's on the train and he has this feeling like something integral to his life is missing. He looks around, he sees the Magus, he sees his friends, and he knows, okay, well, I'm not missing anything. Like, well, I wonder, oh, well, whatever. I'm really hungry. So he squeezes down the little corridors of the train carriages and gets his way to the dining car and sits himself, squeezes himself into a booth. Like, he's taking up so much room that he's just got to get in there. And a regular sized waiter comes across to him And it's like, great, sir. What can I do you for? What would you like to eat? And he looks at the menu and he goes, oh, I don't believe I've tried veal before. How would you recommend it? The waiter's like, extra rare. So have you had veal before? You haven't. So, do you know what it is? Oh, no. I just like the look of the word. What is it? Oh, it's young deer. That sounds delicious. Can I have half a one? The waiter's writing down. Yes, okay, half a serve. No, just half a young deer, thanks. That will do nicely.
I quit. I'm not playing your game. That's it. I'm out.
Elle, you're way too good at these games.
This game was meant to be fun.
I was promised fun story times. This is none of that.
You did this, Lauren. Sid, Lauren, Luke, this is all you.
How do you follow that? Oh my god.
Well, you just follow it by confessing the giant part of your own soul which you have given to write on the ice rail.
Easy. Sid, do you want to go?
All right, freight car. What is precious? So Elamura doesn't make herself known over the next meal, maybe two. Who is it that would go to check on her?
That sounds like a justice thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, does Justice still feel responsible?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So as you head to Elamura's quarters, they're open. She's not in them. But she comes back like from a warm shower. She's still steaming a little bit. Got a towel wrapped around her and she's using one to dry her hair. And she sees you like looking through into her room and her eyes go a little bit wide. And she starts taking like a couple of steps back from you. And then like once she reaches the door behind her that connects to the freight car, she fumbles around with her hand and like pops the door open, steps between the cars, never letting her eyes come off you, and like escapes into it.
Justice looks confused and she I think she gives chase. She opens up. We hear all the, when you open the door in between the characters, it's all yeah. I think it's probably traveling like along next to the sightless sea, like out to the side. So we see this big like vista of ocean, and she like fumbles through into the into the freight car.
Yeah, I think the like the freight car's stacked high, but there's like an obvious path where this frantic young raven has torn through it, and she's like thrown things out of the way and like left both the towels behind in trying to escape. And you can follow the path through where you find her like naked and shivering in the cold with her back against one of the storage lockers.
Elamura, what are you doing? It's freezing in here. What's wrong with you?
Stop! Stay there. I don't know who told you my name, but leave me alone. I saw the other two following me as well. And the old man. I'm just Just leave me alone.
What did you do? What?
Stop it. Stop. And she's like, terrified. She's like, I'm scrunched into the corner as small as she can get. And it's probably at this point that we like realize how young she really is, especially compared to Justice's like world weary aged personality. And she's like facing into the corner, covering her face.
Justice says, we haven't known each other long, but I'm your friend. I don't even have that many friends. You need to come with me. We'll look after you. I need you to come with me. And she starts picking up the towels, and she's trying to like cover her up and like help her to get up.
I think as soon as you make like physical contact, Elamira starts screaming and kicking out. She's like, no, you're not my friend. I don't know you.
Shit. I think Justice like rushes off and comes back with the Magus. She doesn't know. You see them walking in together. She's and she's like, I think Elamira's given up a little too much of herself to fuel this train. Do you Lauren, do you want to be the Magus?
Oh, okay. I think you see the Magus crinkle more, and like he looks aged, way more aged than he has in the past. And I think for the audience, you sort of get that insight into his mind that perhaps he did not counsel this young charge enough on what the ice rail meant. And he frowns and looks at Elamira and says, "My child, I am deeply sorry. And I know that does not make sense to you, for you look at me like as if I were a stranger. How can I help you?"
Her eyes flick between like Justice and the Magus. And she like the eyes are wide and afraid and the teeth are chattering, and I think the tears are like freezing on her cheeks as she cries them. And she like we just see the fear break, not through like happiness, but into exhaustion. And
My child, pray tell, what is the last thing you recall?
She says, I remember being in Stormguard and the mountains. It was a long way to travel on my own, but I did it. I was strong then, and now I just feel so scared. I don't know why. I don't know why I was strong before and I can't be now.
Dearest Elmira, you must believe me when I say that while strength comes from within, it also comes from the community that fosters it. And I don't know how to impress upon you how much you mean to me. For again, I fear that you view me as a stranger. Do you not remember the conversation we had approaching the rail?
I approached the rail alone in the snow. And I felt so warm. And now I'm so cold.
Can you close your eyes for a second and indulge me?
Like that's I think like something about the Magus like reaches out across whatever it is that's taken this from her, and she just feels comfortable enough to close her eyes, and when she does, she just immediately falls asleep.
Aww.
Dude.
Just a big old sleeping.
Sorry, I totally steamrolled over poor Justice.
That's right, Justice wasn't doing shit.
Justice was in over her head.
I feel so bad for Justice because I would also appreciate justice in my scene.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fucking ice rail.
You when I said we should go to the ice rail, you were like, yeah, let's do it. Justice, this is all your fault.
I'm gonna whack this over by an honest conversation.
Oh, by the way, feel free if any of you want to like splash me into your scenes now. More than happy to have Elamira be there and like rebuilding relationships with you and stuff. I just
cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Actually, yeah, feel free to like sort of sit in on this one if you wanted to be part of this honest conversation.
I guess we'll see how honest we want to be.
Yeah. So I dig the setting for this scene is like in one of the rail cars as we're traveling, and the most noticeable thing about it is the silence. And the way I see it is like at the booth there's Hop, and maybe sitting like not quite opposite, but like maybe like adjacent opposite is Justice. And they're kind of sitting there in silence and not really saying anything, but it feels a little bit tense. Like you should be talking, but you're not talking, and you're not quite sure how to instigate conversation. But no one's quite sure where to begin. And there's a lot of like not looking at each other, looking at the window, and like awkward like throat clearing. And behind that, all we can really hear is the screech of like metal on ice as we travel forward at incredible speeds, as well as the sort of gentle pattering of snow against the windows and sleet against the windows and wind that picks up as we traverse over the sight of the sea. And maybe even if you really, really, really try, the crash of waves below. And after a very significant pause, Harp just looks at Justice and says, I have a confession to make. Justice, I'm not a vegetarian.
That's your big confession.
Yes,
I got a confession as well. I'm not a guard. I murdered a guard. I've murdered a few guards. I let my mother die for me. I shouldn't even be here. I'm a fake.
Indeed, that is quite a confession beyond being a vegetarian. Do you want me to hold your hand or hug you? Is that what you want right now?
If you want to, sure.
Okay.
I just can't lie anymore. I just can't do it anymore. I just actually cannot lie.
I think Harp puts the hand atop yours on the table between the two of us. But it's real awkward. You can tell that she's not that used to human contact. And it's kind of like a there, Pat. I think this is what you're supposed to do when you're trying to console someone.
It seems like you want to talk about something other than not being a vegetarian.
Indeed, I was attempting to launch the conversation off for the point of levity into something quite serious, but it seems you beat me to the point. In fact, it is funny that you confessed that before I did, for I have heard things about you from our time at Stormguard, and I feel that you, amongst pretty much everyone here, I feel that you understand what it's like to lead a double life, and Vargo knows this. Amagus knows this, but I have been living a lie in our time we've traveled together. But I feel that there is no point in keeping it a secret any longer, for I fear that the future I had envisioned for me has no longer come to pass. See, I am not human. I possess a human form, but it is not one I wish to occupy, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't.
So what are you then?
And she clasps the fox fit around her neck and she says, I am of the Mistwood Forest. You folks like to call me a fox, and that is the spirit that I inhabited in my time in Mistwood before I came across Ravenhall. I, for a long time, used to jump between the two, human to fox and fox to human and so on. However, as magic died, so did my ability to change. And as one, your human saying about if you make a face in the wind and it changes direction, you're stuck with that face forever. I fear much the same has happened as magic has died with myself.
Justice, I think, kind of moves her hands from underneath your awkward clasp and kind of holds them in her hands, and she's like, my mother used to tell me stories about the foxes and the giants of Mistwood. Why would you keep such a thing a secret? I would be proud if I had a story like that to tell instead of just a story of disappointments.
I think the question gives Harp a moment of pause as she really considers it, as she lets the question roll around in her mind. And I think she grips your hands a bit tighter. And she says, if I am to be truly honest, I believe the root cause of that decision was shame. For I did not possess the strength within myself to change back to who I was. And I feared being perceived as weak and useless as we traveled with the Magus on this very important quest. For why would you want a fox spirit that can no longer perform magic? I am useless. I cannot run. I have little to offer apart from my jokes, and even then I have learnt today that they are not always best placed or welcome.
I think Justice laughs more generously than the small joke deserves to try and make you feel better.
Justice, it is a shame that we did not speak more at more length on our journey, for you are truly special. I must confess, I feel selfish in this confession for the only reason, honestly, the only reason I bring it up is that as we passed through the booth, I gave up the lust of my magic, and I believe with it the chance to return to my foxen form. I admit I partook in the Magus's dream crystals, and what they showed me was that my home is gone, and I fear the worst for the ranges of Mistwood. And with that, I feel like if there is no home to return to, then what is the point in having this goal? What is the point in returning to myself if my home is gone?
Well, we don't know what will happen at the end of this journey, Harp. We maybe we're taking the mages to their final resting place, or maybe we're going to help something else happen. Maybe it's not the end of magic, and at least we'll be there. We'll be there at the end of it all, if that's what it's going to be.
Hop gives a gentle, more human pat to Justice's hand and says, "I do admire your optimism, and I wish I could say that it inspired me. For I think it is great for someone to suffer such adversity and still leave it feeling inspired and hopeful. I did experience briefly at Stormguard a similar disposition, someone who encouraged me to live not in the past, but to move forward into the future." And I think she puts a hand to the snowflake barrette. And she says, "But perhaps you're right. Perhaps I'm not meant to be this fox spirit, but instead live out in this human vessel. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I will return. It is out of my control now, and that is terrifying. Don't know how to cope."
Well, you say you have dream crystals.
Oh, I suppose, unless I worry that I become dependent upon them, and with that, inevitable shame, and then the cycle continues as coping mechanisms become far too dependent. How did you cope when you left your home behind?
I don't think I did cope. I've just been pretending to be someone I'm not the entire time. And I wasn't coping even before I left. I'm just trying to be something better now, I guess. And she's like, show me those dream crystals.
Hop produces from her pocket this little velvet bag and tosses it on the table. It's like, these are them.
Yeah, Justice picks them up and she's like just staring at them. Then she really suddenly, like, she opens the window and all this like snow and cold air's blowing in, and she like throws them out, and I think the bag comes like open as it's out, and we see all these like, you know, purple and gold kind of crystals sparkling, and they're all like falling down into the water down below, and she like slams the window shut. He's like, that stuff's not gonna help you. It never helped me.
I think we end the conversation on a bit of dishonesty. For Hop is quite like sits quite straight as she watches you toss these dream crystals out of the window. And as she sees them go, all she can see is the last opportunity to be with her kin, the last chance to remember her people. For she is very worried that they're gone. And in fact, she is somewhat irritated that you make the choice for her, and yet she knows it is a feeling that will pass because you do have her best interest in heart, and she knows that she shouldn't be dependent upon these dream crystals, and yet, oh my gosh, she needs them. And she pinches her lips together and takes a really deep breath and like fights down the urge to say nasty things to Justice, for Justice is just trying to help. And she says, "Thank you, Justice. I knew that I was right to confide in you, and I do feel that we are one and the same, and I would appreciate your counsel and guidance as we continue upon this journey, if you would be so kind."
I'll offer you what little I have to give, I guess. And I think I kind of imagined that that Elamura is like kind of up against the window this whole time, maybe asleep, but maybe not asleep, and kind of listening into this conversation. Can we round out the scene with something from Elamura? Sid?
Yes, please.
So yeah, Elamura, like, I think she like lifts her head from the window and looks at her harp, and like sleepily with like her eyes fluttering, still coming out of her dream, and she says, "You've never looked more like a fox to me," and then falls back to sleep.
Nice.
Oh my god, thank you so much, Lou. That was so good. That was what I wanted from that scene.
You guys are amazing.
Well, I feel like I got my my secret out in that scene.
You literally can't lie.
Yeah, I think so.
It's so good. It's so good.
You can just mess around at first.
Whoa. That's the radio ghostly turning itself on.
Oh, are you guys haunted? That's
It's
cool.
the void. Someone lied to the ice rail.
No, it's just set on a timer and it's not disabled. Good job, Luke. Saved the day.
I'm trying to. I'm just gonna jump in with my scene on the train. I'm gonna do it the train station. So I think maybe I think we get a little kind of time lapse. It's like quite a long journey, and we see the train like moving past all of the locations that like we heard about from like Elamura talking about it earlier. and if I can be so bold, I think maybe we see, I like to imagine at least that Elamura is doing the, like a few days had passed and she's like running on the, she's like having a run down the middle of the train and kind of playing on the train a little bit, a quite innocent sort of way. I guess Justice is watching that happen, but I think it's nighttime and the train kind of screeches to a halt and there's like a little there's like a tiny little like country style like train platform, you know, those ones that are like, you know, a couple of meters long. The train stops there, and I think we see somebody. There's one of those booths there, and we see this person on the platform kind of put their like hand into the box, and they droop a little bit and get onto the train. I think maybe our whole party is sitting like in the dining cart, kind of all around a table together. Maybe Vargo's in the little booth behind because he can't fit into the one with the rest of us. He's probably eating a small brace of rabbits. And who boards the train? Who is it gonna be? Does anybody have some sort of awesome bomb drop person that can? I've got an idea, but I don't like it that much. Does anybody have a cool idea? Oh, it's gotta be somebody that's connected to Elamura. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, interesting. Please go on.
So does Elamura remember her time before arriving at Ravenhall?
Yeah, no, she remembers everything. The only thing she's forgotten is the things that were most important to her, which is you guys.
Yeah. So if it's somebody in, I wonder if she's, I don't know, does anybody have a cool idea? I'm stuck. Okay, I'll just go with my own imagination.
Trust you, Lou. You've never led us astray so far.
Okay, no, I've changed my mind. I think we
I haven't. Oh, yeah. Well, I thought one suggestion was like it's might be a bit silly, but like you know how when you're on the train or bus, whatever, and there's like the impromptu like ticket checks to see if like you've actually boarded the train properly. It could be like.
I was kind of thinking of just having a random like encounter with somebody like odd.
Oh yeah,
well. But then I think I'll no, I've got an idea. I think we this tall kind of figure gets on the train and kind of walks onto the dining, like into the dining cart, and they stop when they see Harp there, and it's this tall like man with like a long like thin red beard, and he takes off his hat and he's mainly human, but he's got these fox ears, and he just looks down at Harp sitting there, and he's like, he looks at you, he's like, Harp, I I haven't seen you for so long. Where have you been? That is you, isn't it?
I love the idea of like, you know, when you meet someone and they know you but you don't know them.
But while this is happening, Justice is like, "Are you another fox?" I'm like, "Harp's a fox."
I told you that in
She can't
confidence.
change. She can't change back. She's stuck.
Oh, why did I tell my secrets to someone who couldn't? Why? Oh, I've been a fool. And I think Harp looks up at this fox figure and says, "It is, as my dear friend has pointed out, indeed me, Harp. I was a fox. I'm not so certain about the present tense, however."
And I think he's like, "Well, do you mind if I join you?"
No, please sit down. And she's going to just keep on going, assuming that eventually she'll clock onto who this is, even though she has no idea.
Yeah, and I think we just get the train starts like rolling out of the station, but I kind of like the final little scene there maybe is us all, it's a view of us all at the table with this fox gentleman, but from outside the train, like we're like being watched by something maybe, and we hear the train take off, and then I think Justice looks out into the night, and there's all these little they look like fox eyes glittering in the dark, watching the train take off.
Nice.
Oh my god.
And then perhaps a little side scene of like of Harp like kicking Vago under the table and be like, "You know about the Mistwood, like, who the fuck is this?" I have no idea.
Vargo's got a long metal skewer with roasted baby bunnies on it, and he's like munching on it, like, I don't know.
Oh my god, what a visual to end on.
And I might take a little liberty. I think this will be our last little bit. Maybe each of us can briefly, I'd like to see the train kind of rolling into Istallia, and maybe we can each say something about what Istallia looks like. I had a little vision earlier on of like a you know, like a big fantasy city, but I think it's got like a massive it's a domed, like a clear domed city, so the like snow is kind of falling down on this like dome from the outside, and like the train speeding towards it. But what about you, Lauren? Do you want to add a little detail to what this place looks like?
Totally. Or if it is encased within a dome, it makes sense to capitalize on presumably the lack of wind. And so I like to think that it's a gilded city, correct? And so it is very golden and very flashy and very wondrous. But before like the castle, whichever sort of building is most central to their culture, is this lake, or a lake. And perfectly reflected in it is like this mirror image of this golden castle. So you kind of get this double image of the golden castle in reality, and then like the golden castle in this pool.
Cool. I'm totally imagining some awesome shot, you know, camera work set up of like we're watching it in the reflection, but you don't realize you're watching in the reflection until it like zooms up. How about you, Sid?
To build on Lauren's, like, let me know if I go too far on this one, but like instead of having a lake that this is reflected in, what if the whole city is built on like a bay of the sightless sea, and like it's all built on stilts, so like maybe the rearmost buildings are over land, but like the castle and then the harbour are all built over the water.
Cool. It totally gives me a bit of a Venice vibe, this place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty cool. Do you want to chime in, Alan?
Yeah, so as the rail is like slowing down as it's coming into more densely populated areas, we go through a small area of slums. So like it's kind of a marshy area back from the ocean, and then there's these shacks up on stilts, and lots of people around walking on these ramshackled piers and wooden bridges between the different houses, shacks, and people just looking pretty hard done by.
It's like the overpopulated housing commission sort of thing.
Yeah, and
totally. I totally want to have the final scene be us all jump out of the train, the way that Elamura described earlier, though, and we just like the train doesn't stop. We just like jump off at this like station, and like it actually was real, and we like all float down to the the city. I think that's pretty cool.
like a permanent like air cushion is there.
Yeah,
Yes.
Maybe it's even something mechanical, because a lot of the magic's gone now, but we all float down to the city. Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna turn off this broadcast, but that was great, guys. And we'll have a tiny little debrief and then say goodbye. But bye, internet.
To the 2 people on YouTube that are watching this, they are so lucky.
Yeah, the 2 people that have skipped to the end and just watching us say goodbye. Nice to see you here. Bye.